Salutations, folks. We're back again with Media Universal, and still in the segment of each other at odds. This segment, we are actually going to go into appreciation within a relationship. Sometimes it takes a little more than just being together. Sometimes even when you can't stand being together, there's some things that you can do to counter such and actually still maintain as a riding and thriving couple. And also within this maturity to within at its unfortunate part, but still, if parting ways, still be friends and hope the best for each other, going within direction to where you still can communicate. Again, this is Joseph Johnson, and I'm here with Cynthia Doherty, the missus. And how would you want to start this off? Within, I guess, from a woman's perspective.
Okay, well, first I would like to say that it's not just, when we cover appreciation in relationships, we're not just necessarily talking about a husband and wife. We could also be referring to, a mother and daughter, a father and son, sisters, brothers, friends, relationships in general. Because I believe that everybody desires to feel appreciated in some way or another. Their appreciation to some is one thing, and to others it's another thing. And of course, there's going to be different levels or different aspects, I guess, is a better word to use, of appreciation based on the type of relationship you're in. Obviously, with a husband and wife, you're going to want that appreciation, I believe, from a woman's perspective anyway, needs to be shown and vocalized a lot more than what it typically is. I think that women...
What that surrounding includes from full aspect to a verbal, physical, mental even, in this full spectrum of communicating appreciation. For example.
When I say the different aspects of appreciation, well, there's, let's just say, I have my big brothers, and, I have a beautiful tattoo that was done by one of my other brothers, and I still, to this day, 5 years later, with it being actually unfinished, still the compliments on the artwork and things like that. And, in order for me to show my brother the appreciation that I have for that artwork, one of the things I do is I've had a lot of artists offer to finish it, and I won't let anybody aside from my brother Michael touch it. So that's just kind of one of the things I do in my own little sisterly fashion to say, hey, I appreciate that you gave me this beautiful piece, and I appreciate that it came from my brother as a 26th birthday present. And, what I mean? So you've got that, and then, you've got, like with your parental relationship, your mother and child, or father and child. Well, one of the things that parents do to show appreciation in that relationship is they pay allowances when children do their chores. They pay the allowance to show that, hey, we appreciate what you actually did, what you're supposed to do.
Well, not so much true within the relationship of children. First, say within parents' relationship with each other. How would I say you as a mother? Not even if husband and wife, but nevertheless, being the father and being the mother, how would you I'd say within your opinion and your view, say, this is how I would appreciate the father of my children to show and say, hey, I'm proud of the fact that you are the father of my children. I'm proud to be with you too within bringing this life to this world that we share within the spirit of us.
Wait. See, what you just said kind of contradicted itself a little bit, because you said, how would you want the father of your children to show that appreciation? But then
how would you show that appreciation to the father?
Well, there's all kinds of ways you can do it, but I think in some aspects and in some situation, it comes down to, well, am I being shown appreciation as well? Because why would I continue or do things to show appreciation if I don't get some sort of appreciation in return? you worked hard today, honey, thank you, that actually goes a long way. You know what I mean?
Would you ever give some examples? Or how would you within giving some examples motivate that relay between the both of you to say, hey, I'm showing you this appreciation with what I'm doing, or with some of the examples given, to actually try to spark that relay between, if not already within themselves at an awareness, saying, okay, right on, you're doing that for me, and this is what I would want to do for you, to show that appreciation for us being in a relationship, to not only motivate us as to stay together, but to motivate you as a mom, to where you would do to motivate me as a father to say, hey, keep it going. It may seem like you would be lost within such a role as a father or a parent, but know that you have someone here with you, instead of you, some parents unfortunately having to go through it alone, within getting that appreciation from their children, family, friends, and stuff, But
okay, well, like I said, it's really hard to show appreciation when you don't feel as though you're being shown appreciation. Like, that's just, okay, that's another thing I'm going to do and still not get any thanks or gratitude for it. I can take one example in which I didn't take the time to show appreciation because I myself did not feel appreciated. And that was actually just here very recently. I had spent an entire day gone and moving about, and went from one end of Las Vegas to another end of Las Vegas to another end of Las Vegas to another end of Las Vegas. And all the meanwhile trying to be, the supportive mother or the supportive wife. And when I returned from handling everything I needed to handle, I was informed that the other person's things, which, there was no reason not to do it, didn't get done because they didn't want to wait in line. Okay, well, I didn't want to wait in the sun for 30 minutes for the bus either, but I did it. And not just for myself, but for a unit, as a team player. This is what needs to be done in order for this said situation to improve. And I feel as though I put forth my effort, but the other party involved did not put forth their effort. And so when I'm sitting there, and mind you, I made the really kind of silly mistake of wearing boots because I was trying to be professional, and tennis shoes and flip-flops don't work for that. So the boots are really the only professional shoe I have right now. But
again, within chosen moments. So could you choose another moment?
Now you're interrupting me.
Yes, but then again, it's within the other person's view of not to.
Well, see, right now, I feel like my opinion is not appreciated.
Because I don't feel you actually reached at the target of how would you then spark that within this if you would already feel like
I actually started that whole statement by saying
such an appreciation.
But I actually started that whole situation by saying it's hard to show appreciation when you don't feel as though you've been appreciated. And I actually didn't get to finish what I was saying before you interrupted me.
All right, you can try to allow me the rebuttal. I think within a specific moment chosen, it would find in a person's trying to nitpick a specific situation instead of actually going at it within the honesty of all perspectives.
Everything I'm saying is 100% completely honest. I was told, and I quote,
within such a
the
moment.
line was too long. But what I was saying is after being out all day in the sun and not having been able to eat, and my feet are killing me, I wasn't asked to give a massage or to rub on somebody, and I feel like, well, after everything I did, out in the heat and running around, and this person saying, and I quote, the line was too long. Why should I appreciate or show appreciation for you not being willing to wait in line? It's kind of where I just, why should I put forth more work when I didn't even get, like on Monday, for example, one of the many things I did was I passed an exam. I got 100% on it on the first try. I didn't even so much as get a good job. So why would I want to continue to work? I put in a 14-hour day, and now I want to continue to work to not be appreciated for that either. That's where, the showing appreciation when you don't feel appreciated becomes really difficult to do.
Yes, but from a perspective in that, what if it was vice versa, and per se you were in its perspective of saying, hey, while I felt sitting here in this sun heating, I then sat to wait for that other to actually come back with some financial gain, knowing that within this they didn't have a steady job, within the resources that they could have used, but then within obstacles to actually achieve, to actually getting that steadily paid, to where they would not only, I guess, wait for a bus in 30 minutes in the sun, but they would actually try within their best to even do odds and end jobs, pander, if have you, even try to help out within the stores and communities assist to try to earn money, but to then give you money at the end of that day, and not mention, hey, not only did I work a certain umpteenth hours a day, it doesn't end here, because once we get what we want that we're trying to achieve the financial gain for, you still have to get back to continuing at this. So in that person's perspective of the other, would you then feel the same way in their shoes if they were to be within this approach toward you? Saying, okay, then how would one feel that they would deserve appreciation first within the mind frame of I should be appreciated before they are?
I didn't necessarily say that I should be appreciated before they are. What I said was when one person has had a chance to basically sit at home and not do much of anything, eat bonbons and watch Oprah, I don't know. But, that's just an example.
Even in homelessness, instead of sitting at home, you're still sitting outside within where your campsite is your home. You have nowhere to go with no home, and you're sitting there waiting within the area that you are making a financial gain.
Can I finish saying one thing before you start asking me a whole other slew of questions? Because that's the second time now.
Yes, you would.
So once again, my opinion is not being appreciated.
It is being appreciated, but you're not saying your opinion from an alternative shoe.
I'm not giving the chance to keep interrupting me.
Because I'm trying to keep within the subject.
I am within the subject. I'm within the subject of appreciation in a relationship. You're just cutting me off, and you keep cutting me off. And the fact that you're saying that I'm not in the subject is just making me feel like my opinion is even less appreciated because it's not really being heard as to what I'm saying.
Okay, would it be fair in this honesty to where I felt in the approach of one's opinion, you would start on a high horse note instead of that it's neutral, to then try to find within this same page understanding to how to explain it, because then this is where we'll go back to tit for tat under one's view of,
first of all,
this point you did this
and
felt. At this point you had did this and felt that why would I give someone appreciation here, but what if before even to the point first started using, that someone would have felt then, okay, how come I didn't get that attention, vice versa, before now, to where it would have been presented? To where you can't just answer back with that was in the past, because if that was actually taken into consideration in the past, thus for in this future, you would be able to both actually reciprocate to a much more stable grounding to actually approaching such a subject as an appreciation within relationships.
Okay, well what happens when the appreciation used to be there and now it's not? Okay, that's just for starters. But before you start speaking on that, let me finish saying what I was saying.
Remember the question, Peter?
You've got me absolutely so infuriated right now. I'm trying to say so very desperately that, as I was saying, when one person has been at home and pretty much had a chance to be lackadaisy and kick back, maybe kind of clutter around the house a little bit or handle one or two small things, for the most part, your day has been relatively stress-free.
Actually, not right to judge
Once
someone.
again, we're interrupting.
You're saying one's day will be stress-free as in not being part of that one's view.
Okay, I'm not though. You haven't let me finish. How can you say what I am or am not saying if you won't let me finish saying it?
You just contradicted yourself.
No,
with that
I
same
have
question,
not.
saying,
I haven't finished
how are
saying
you
what
going
I
to
was
tell
saying.
me how I am? How are you going to interrupt
said
me
you
telling
specifically.
someone else how they are? Or telling another view other than myself within how they would be?
Folks, if you would like to call in, once again, we invite you to do so. All questions, comments, your opinions, they are valued greatly from our radio Tribune and each other at odds. That number for you is 702-984-6843. Again, that number is 702-984-6843. Please feel free to call in. Can I finish now?
Would it be from a neutral to not within hold the point at?
You're not letting me even get that far. You keep cutting me off because I explain one side of it, but you don't let me say where the other side of it is. You keep saying it's one-sided because you don't let me finish the other side. Well, nothing.
You just said it right there. You said I would start from one side, not from a neutral all around.
Oh, now
you
you're not
do
about
have a
to
phone call, which is pretty good.
Radio Tribune.
Hi, this is Tia. I listened to your show yesterday, and it was awesome. I think that you guys debate better when you're talking about something that's not what you're personally into in the moment, and just talking about your opinion. You just try to be more objective that way.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. You look forward to hearing, and I always got to come to your opinion because we love both of you.
All right, thank you. We love you too.
All love. Thank you kindly again for calling in. Your name doesn't matter. Please feel free to call in and let us know who you are. We'd love to hear a little more from you when you call back next time. All right. Again, back to the subject of appreciation within relationships, to where I guess it got a little intimate, so to speak. But I guess we're going to take it out to a broader spectrum, to not so at a general view of, but within the respective view from a woman, from a man, and I mean, even if a hermaphrodite was to join the show, even from their point of view.
You really just said that?
In between. But
wow. Anyway, there are many ways in which couples or anybody in general can go to show appreciation. If you're out all day and you come home and your feet are hurting, and you tell this person, your significant other or what have you, hey, my feet are really hurting. That person, they can get a tub of some warm water and some Epsom salt and be like, here, you can soak your feet. They can sit down, they can rub your feet for a few minutes. There's, just many things that, that's just one example of the many things that can be done. For me, I try the best I can to aim when I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. I try the best I can to consider what kind of appreciation I put out when it comes to the different type of relationship I'm in. So for example, a friend babysits my cat for a couple hours. I'll buy them a beer or something like that, you know what I mean? But when it comes to within a marriage or things like that, a little bit more intimate when it comes to appreciation. Not necessarily sex, but just more of that intimate, like, I don't really know how to describe it, but not necessarily sex, but like a true relationship, like sit down, the tender, loving care, just the little things that you can do for somebody. The house is clean, the laundry's done, your hair is cut, your nails are groomed, your long, things like that. Just little tiny things that you can do. That a lot of, I'm sorry to say, from a woman's perspective, a lot of men don't notice that is, in most cases that I've ever dealt with, how a woman does show her appreciation. She cooks your food, she does your laundry, she cleans your house, things like that. That's just one of the ways that I know I show appreciation, because I don't really, and then there's the affection too.
I can understand I can relate to showing that same appreciation of saying, hey, she's not the only one that knows how to cook. I can cook. She's not the only one that can clean the house. I can clean the house too. But what if you put yourself within its, I'd say, within the position of not a household? What if you are not within a house and you are, again, within a situation that you can't go home, but you are outside? Within TLC towards one another not apply because you are within still a public surrounding trying to actually survive and get into stability?
I don't see anything wrong with people handling, kissing, caressing, that kind of stuff in public, that's fine. Just do not go out and have sex in public, that is not what I'm saying.
What about public appreciation?
Well, so that's where
public affection.
That's where you're getting into, I don't know. Like I said, for me, affection is one of the ways that I show appreciation. So, for me, affection and appreciation, in a lot of cases, go hand in hand.
Okay. Would you want to elaborate on that?
Not really.
Oh. Good. Another way, within such, I found, although I have felt, I would have put a hefty work day in. Some things upon interaction, it did not go the way it went. And, if the day was stressful, I found a good way to combat that instead of bringing it into the relationship of the day on how that went is to say, hey, I'm going to take out my frustration on giving, my significant other a foot massage. Or I'm going to take that out on, giving them a back rub, a body massage to say, although it didn't go great for me, I am grateful that within putting myself in such a position that you would not have to go out there and actually endure it, to where then this is the icing on the cake to say, cool, I've done this, and though I got it done and it was a hard road work done, and then that little icing on the cake to combat that, that's kind of like the oomph, but not towards the person you're showing appreciation to. This is where then it would help, and my intent in doing that there would be a spark of that same appreciation through motivation and reciprocation. And in reply of auto, or action to reaction, if it seems like I'm trying to use, big words.
Basically, you're arguing almost the same point I was just trying to explain.
Not
almost. You're
not
trying
so
to
much
spark
arguing.
that person. No. The point you're making is almost identical to what I was trying to make. You're trying to motivate that person to appreciate you more.
Would you say they don't deserve it if after going and even taking your thing? I've worked a 14-hour day. I felt that your day
I'm
was
saying I'm
relaxed.
tired.
And even if at tired come in and you hear them saying, or like take the situation of if being at that successful parenting couple, you may go out to work and another parent stays home. Who says raising that kid or raising those children within what you would have to do at home would be a much less stressful, lax job within comparison of doing that 9 to 5.
I wasn't speaking about when kids were in the home. Actually, I was speaking specifically about when kids were in the home.
Okay, even when kids aren't in the home. You had a 14-hour day, you're coming home, and you feel
so
that...
if it's just you and your significant other, and there's no kids in the home, and one of them is out all day long, and the other one's at home all day long, did you say the person that was at home had the easier day?
Well, no, because I wouldn't know so much about if they were at home or not, to where even if at told, I would again say, instead of saying appreciate me for the day that I've had, that I would then try to put up there with a valiant effort. I did it for us.
Not
So then you
appreciate
immediately try to think
what
from
I've
one's-
done for us.
Yeah, but you would immediately think from that shoe, or I would immediately try to think from that point of the shoe instead of saying, I did this for us, appreciate me. Oh yeah, I'm going to appreciate you, and I'm going to make you want to appreciate me back. To which, within your opinion, do you
What
feel
happens
instead of
What happens
doing
when
it-
you try showing appreciation and try showing appreciation and try showing appreciation and it's not recognized and you still don't get any appreciation in return?
Well, this would be in its ramifications of how one would see to actually display that appreciation. Like you said, from all aspects, some women do think, hey, if I give him some, or if I give him some sex, then I showed him I appreciated him, and damn,
That's
that's
because
it.
men mistake sex with
No
affection.
foot rub, no back rub, no. Hey, can you just, hold, some guys be like, hey, I just want to lay back with my head, and you're like, you rub my head, and tell you about my day, tell you what's going on. Even they might say, I don't even want to talk about the day. Look, tell me what's been going on with you. Whether you've been at home or because you haven't been at home, you've been with the kids, what the kids do today. If it's no kids, well, hey, what you and your girlfriends do today? What's going on out in the world while I was kind of stuck at the office, basically.
Okay. What was the question? Because you just kind of went on this whole little spiel and didn't actually. I didn't actually catch the question. You went on this whole little spiel here, and I didn't hear a question anywhere.
I guess to bring it to simplification, if one would always feel because they would then do from an aspect or an angle and judge that measurement upon the road it takes or its strife, in comparison, then you would not be in that relationship or even that parental relationship together. You would only be within it to be as a companion to where would you have worth within this relationship with me? To where would you, you can honestly feel from a mutual perspective, well, that wouldn't be fair. We didn't have children or we didn't get together without kids to say, okay, how much can you benefit me to where I can make it to a content? It was because in its mutual attraction, conversation, chemistry, being together, we have created a bond and we have created a unit to then go about the road of life to actually finding what some would say that happiness, some would say that satisfaction, to where no couple is perfect, but where you do find on other subjects bouncing back on with situations and how to find that ground of agreeing to disagree, to then not come back to it to really cause that bump in the road or to cause that shift around. Before we do continue, one more time, folks, call in, definitely give us your opinion. Definitely announce your name. We'd like to know who you are calling in because we do appreciate that you are calling in with your opinion and ways to help us within this reach. Not so much a common ideal, but a solvent. Not everything is going to be solvent to which it applies. The phone number is 702-984-6843, Radio Tribune. And right now on this subject is Media Universal, and we are each other at odds. So we continue on with it.
To be completely honest, you've talked in so many circles, and I'm kind of lost at the moment. 1 minute you're arguing one thing, the next minute you're arguing another thing. So I'm kind of a little bit lost with what exactly it is you're trying to say. So let me just kind of redirect it a little bit. How would a couple, per se, how would you think that they could go about, let's just say when the relationship started, that appreciation was mutually shown. He did this for her, or she did that for him. And they both understood that appreciation was there and it was mutually shown. Now, you're a few years down the line, and neither one of them feels as though they can show appreciation. how would you recommend they go about trying to solve that problem within the relationship?
I would bounce it to a relationship where one would feel in retrospect to gaining and having respect. Some feel that you would have to respect me first in order to get respect from me. You know, and then another view. That's pretty much in relation to it is. If you give me a minute, I'll share that to you. Because where some people would say, I feel if I give that respect.
I would like a dictionary.
If you just let me, if you let me do it, or let me finish. Because where you started off as, I feel that after I've put in a point to where I would feel exhausted to then show that appreciation to that someone upon grounds of, if I give this reason, that reason, and that right, then I shouldn't have to appreciate you first. You should then appreciate me, and maybe I'll appreciate you. You see what I'm saying? To where if I'm not appreciated, then I'm not going to show no appreciation. To where I honestly started with, well, if I show appreciation,
I started arguing at the beginning of the
that's
show.
why
if
I
don't feel
just.
appreciated, I'm not going to show appreciation.
This is why I just said she started off with, if I get shown appreciation, then I will appreciate you, and thus, with me and my rebuttal
Not exactly.
of saying, then how about if I went through that same amount of a day, not even knowing if you've been at home or not, home and kids or no kids or not, but it would help me and myself battle back the day that I've had that I felt that was gruesome, had to go and get it done. It's tiring. And instead of bringing that end of the day attitude, end of the day of I at least got it done, so, someone better ease the fact that I've been through this, I feel that I would, fight back by saying, let me show it to you first, to then hopefully reciprocate a reaction to being shown the same. Basically treat how you want to be treated, to within not saying it's not fair because I could have had a chance to be within that same perspective.
So once again, I ask you, what happens when appreciation was once mutually shown? It is no longer mutually shown, and at that same time, I feel, or not necessarily I, but one party is saying, appreciate me first, and I'll appreciate you. What if they feel as though they've already tried to show appreciation on so many levels, and that appreciation wasn't returned? So then they, in turn, just stop trying to show the appreciation and now feel as though, well, maybe you should appreciate me a little bit more, and then I can get back to actually being able to appreciate you. It's kind of like a give and take thing.
Why would there be a measurement within this if shown at first as
no, but what I'm saying though is wasn't necessarily shown. It was shown at first as a unit, and then you got down the line, and slowly but surely over time down the line, both parties gradually fell off with showing the appreciation. And then one party is like, okay, well, let me try to do this, or let me try to do that, and they try to show appreciation in ways that used to be noticed and used to be recognized. But now they're no longer being noticed and recognized, so that other party isn't showing any appreciation in return because they're at the same time saying, well, appreciate me first, appreciate me first, appreciate me first. And this party's saying, well, I've tried to appreciate you and you didn't see it, so now I may as well just stop trying because whether I do it or not, you don't notice.
So then would that individual be wrong if feeling that within that mutual appreciation shown, but then one say, hey, it was a point to where it seemed like we appreciated each other. Somewhere down the line, I don't see that appreciation no more. So if I don't see that appreciation no more and you still expect me to give you that appreciation to where you're saying what happened to where it stopped, how would you be able to explain to on behalf of one party within this relationship saying, hey, although it was mutual and I felt that it stopped for me, would you be able to tell me then, honestly, why it has stopped to where it would not just be at its blame of pointing, but where you both can come to that honesty of saying, okay, I understand where here would have cut this off by reaction, but still be able to say I also can say under this reaction of maybe if misunderstanding it or not misunderstanding it, but since you said that, this reaction is how that would have been cut off in its mutual point. Or would you then, from the opposite point of view, say, okay, that's why it's no longer happening because it suddenly stopped, and because that's why I stopped, or that's why it stopped for, because it wasn't the change of within its mutual of anything else that happened. It's because I thought it would be in a non-measurement between, till it became you appreciate me first, and then I'll appreciate you, to where whatever happened to the appreciation for each other.
That's exactly what I just asked you. Whatever happened to the mutual appreciation? How do you get back to that mutual appreciation? Especially when one party or both parties feel that they've been trying to show their appreciation and it's not being recognized by the other party.
Then I
That's
think
exactly the question.
I think it would be. I would think it would be placed to one's maturity, one's honest assessment with each other in this conversation, or not this specifically, but in any conversation of that relationship, to say, this is where it happened, that's what it is, and not just that's what it is in its impulsive retort, but in saying, not only have I seen where it is from this perspective, I'm trying to see it from your perspective that you could clarify within specific, or instead of saying it on your behalf and you're not there to defend it, and it's left in the air as, well, it seemed like they would feel that way, knowing them. No, they're here. You know? To where alone talking about it, if you find yourselves still at odds, then that is where you would have to come to the fact and honesty, no matter how far or no matter how much you try to fight it, within how many truthful, clear as day, applicable, answers that you could give it. It would then seem that it's as if an excuse, but then in their show for that fight. To where if you can show within that fight, not a battle of who believes me more than to say you would have to versus make me look bad, it would be just with the two parties in a room, almost as if a cemented room, no one around them, or not even that. No one is even on the island and it's just them two. To where if they can't come to that term of agreeing, then, you would have to either tear each other apart, but then, heaven forbid, at that point, apart, and then say, is it something to come back to within the realization, within and the honesty within oneself? Would there be a point to come back to, or to then come back to it as in you've made your differences parted, and this is where it lies as far as the extent of the relationship and its title of where it goes? That's probably what you just said.
No, I understood perfectly well what you just said.
All right.
Where we differ in opinion on that is, I don't believe that because one party or both parties are trying to show appreciation, that's necessarily a problem. That's not necessarily an irreconcilable difference. That's something that can be addressed. It's something that can be fixed if both parties are more conscious and put in the effort towards fixing it. But when you've got one or both parties denying that it's happening and denying that it's happening and denying that it's happening, that's not going to fix anything. You have to be aware of the problem. You have to face the problem. And then you have to make a conscious effort to resolve that problem. It doesn't necessarily mean, well, hey, I just don't see the lack of appreciation as being an irreconcilable difference.
What if you could see within the privilege of knowing that person over time, that they are truly refusing to see at its common ground because they do not like where it sits?
No, I don't think that you could ever actually truly know that, because you can assume that they're refusing, but you could turn well extremely wrong. I don't think that anybody who is actually, I just don't really see like anybody actually really be able to blatantly refuse to show any sort of appreciation in that type of situation where they've been together over time. I think that's just one party's misperception.
What if, I'd say, take a couple that's been together for 5 years, 7 even, in comparison to a couple that has been together for about 30, 60.
Okay.
Would you say they still then would not, within that privilege of sharing that time with that person, I mean, you live together, you sleep together, you eat together, you go to work, and you part and come back. I mean, you have to socialize around and you come back to it. But if you've been with each other as a unit again, becoming as one to say, I can be with this person until the day I die, instead of, why would you be with that person that would annoy you, set you off, make you feel that they're the enemy and behind enemy lines, and until you're old and gray in your golden days, to where they sneeze and you kind of have that little animosity that's built up, and instead of saying bless you, you're like, dang, you always going to my presentation. Heaven forbid it does happen. But I mean, how would you still be able to say that one would not be able to then, in that consideration, take that time, or one?
What I would say is
would be that opposed to not paying attention to
the reason people go from being together for 6 months to a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, all the way up to 70, 75 years. I mean, the reason people are able to sustain their marriages for so long is because when a problem arises, both parties put in a conscious effort to fix that problem. Whether that problem is financial, sexual, parental, appreciation, respect. There's so many different, health problems, just so many different legal problems, so many different things that cause couples to split up. But the reason couples make it to being 75 years married, or, even 40 years married or 20 years married, is because they put forth that conscious effort to say, look, this is the problem we're facing, and these are some of the steps we can take to try to fix it. We have to start here, though. We have to start by acknowledging that the problem exists, and not just for one party, but for both parties. And then from that, you move on to, okay, well, what does this party feel I need to change? What does the other party feel needs to be changed? And then, well, what is one party willing to do? What is one party not willing to do? And so on and so forth. And as you move through those steps, and you actually sit down and have conversations, and you work through those steps, and you put the conscious effort and time, because it's going to take time. You're not going to go to sleep one night. We're not going to sit down and say, well, I don't feel like you're appreciating you, and you don't feel like I'm appreciating, I don't feel like you're appreciating me, and I don't feel like you're, vice versa. I don't feel like the appreciation is being shown. You don't feel like it. But, we recognize it, so now we're just going to lay down, go to sleep, and we're going to wake up tomorrow and let's get on together. That's not going to happen.
Well, what would be your perception of putting in a conscious effort? I know some couples.
I just sat here and told you. You start with step one. This is what I feel needs to be changed. This is what you feel needs to be changed. This is what I'm willing to change. This is what you're willing to change. Somewhere in between all of that, there's got to be a happy medium that both parties can agree upon, and they strive towards that happy medium. And then when they get to that happy medium, they can and that applies to every problem.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying within
this,
to zone in on specifically. Yes, you're saying this is the problem that one has.
Our viewers just asked us to not be so personal.
And it's not so personal because this is.
I'm trying to tell you,
it's still universal.
Problems.
It is. It's still universal because then while you would display of identifying the problem, what if within its party they would be within identifying the other's problem that they can agree with, versus would you within that view think it would go to a better way to work out if they identified their own problems and brought it to the table? And then instead of pointing out where the other would need to work out how to solve it, they themselves would say, hey, I've gone about this to try it. And the reaction that I've gotten to it.
The reason I feel that doesn't work, where you sit there and say, well, this is what I'm doing wrong, and this is what I'm doing wrong. as opposed to, and I know everybody says I statements, but as opposed to, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is what you're doing wrong, is you might see, or whoever, not necessarily me, but, one person might say, well, I actually didn't even think you were doing that wrong, but I felt like you were doing this wrong. Or I thought this was, something I would like changed, or whatever, so have you. So I don't think that it's as effective as to identify your own problems as it is to be open and not take things personally as best as you can. Don't take, what is said so personally. Well, I feel like you were lazy. Don't necessarily take that personally. You can sit there and say, I feel like you were being a bitch. Okay, I was being a bitch. That's how you feel. I don't necessarily feel that way. Why do you feel that way? Okay, well, I'll work on changing that in the future.
Well, I think that would be a distracting accusation upon one's read to within say, this is what I'm reading from your behalf.
You're having fun just attacking everything I say today, aren't you?
Not so much attacking, but attaching myself to it, to where instead of its projective view on, instead of its projective view and instantly receiving it and responding to it as if it was wrong, right? Well, then how about with them trying to see what could be right from their perspective?
Too personal.
Yeah. It may seem very within its personal, but very universal from how one could easily say from their point out the box how they can point out point for point on another person's perspective as they will look at it. But then it cannot sit within their own hot seat. Yeah, they can't sit within their own hot seat and say, hey, not only am I willing to hear what you may feel, this for this is wrong, so I could have started, well, you would do this and this and this. You would be able to start off with, hey, I feel that within my attribute of it, or my being part of it, I'm coming at it wrong in this way. I'm coming at it wrong in that way. I'm coming at it wrong in that way. How would you feel, within that reciprocation say, are you able to say, I'm coming at it starting wrong here?
I just want to remind you right now, that's on tape. I just want to remind you that. Okay.
When you point the finger, there's 3 pointing back with a hammer waiting to drop as you go, you.
Okay.
So instead of that, it's
like
pointing elsewhere.
I can't tell you what you feel like you're doing wrong. Only you can say what you feel like I'm doing wrong, or what you feel like you're doing wrong. I can't tell you what you feel. I can tell you what I feel. So I can't sit there and say,
I feel.
Well, no, you're sitting there saying, well, so that's why I can say, I feel like this should be different. I feel like you should do this differently. And when you're saying that, somebody, sit there and say, like, well, I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that, then what happens when that person won't ever own up to anything they've done? Well, no, that's not what it is. No, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do that. Or no, I didn't say that. No, I didn't do that. And that happens, I see it happen a lot. A lot. I watch it every day. I didn't, every time I hear a couple, one person or the other is saying, I did not do that, or I did not say that. It is...
What if within that couple, or I'm sure within many of couples saying, I did not do that, I have, or even in my experience, I have even accepted to say, okay, well, yes, though pointing that out, that is so. Not I don't, or to an extent of, if I could rephrase where you would be right, but not to the severity of the picture that you have depicted through the words used.
Like I said,
or through the combination of words used to
like
describe.
I said before, both parties have to be a little bit more open-minded and not take everything so personal.
But it's supposed to be a relationship between showing appreciation. That's something that would be healthy, personal, and dear to show to one another.
You just said about the severity of a statement. Don't necessarily think of a statement as being severe so much as to think of it as being constructive criticism. It doesn't necessarily have to be severe. It's like when you're in a drama class or something like that. hey, chin up a little bit more, look at the camera more, look at your audience more. Your makeup doesn't quite work with the light. Things like that. It's not necessarily the severity of the situation, it's constructive criticism. You can sit there and say all kinds of things that young high school actors or athletes do incorrectly. It doesn't mean I'm being severe or harsh. It means that if you want to be better at what you're doing, these are the recommendations I would make.
So if a person was to make a general statement within its I feel that such and such and such and such, and that's my personal opinion about it, but then they rebuttal back to, I can understand that you feel that way, but if I could give you a much more clarification from my point of view as to how you see it, would I then have a right within that to either A, change your view, B, while even agreeing with you, not make it such a narrow or even a defensive statement to why they would want to even, say, hey, within this clarification from me because I felt...
We totally have our topic. Yeah.
Still, I mean, all of this, it may seem off topic, but all of this still ties into where one would ask for an action shown from the person that they're with. The action shown from the person that they're with, as opposed to they're saying, okay, well then I want to see this action from which, to where it goes back to that agree to disagree, but then you would constantly waste time within where you could put that actual effort into instead of putting the effort into steadfast of its difference of, I don't want to do this, or I don't think, or I don't feel that I should have to do this if this is such and such and such. And that person would then say, okay, well then I don't feel that I would have to at first within it's such and such and such. What I'm trying to say is how would you then, though not within saying it's wrong to feel that way, but though within its result of not getting it versus then leading to, fine, if I don't get it here, then I'll go elsewhere. But instead of leaving not here and elsewhere, you can actually leave that saying, okay, well, I understand that we're not going to hit that common ground of solvent here, so we can part to where such another subject or instance doesn't actually, doesn't re-arise or set off a tense within that moment.
Or when you're talking about the lack of shown appreciation in a relationship, you can make the conscious effort to show appreciation in ways that you know your partner will recognize that appreciation. And more than likely, in most cases, I found when you make a conscious effort to fix this problem or to resolve the problem, that the problem will and can indeed be resolved. And it doesn't necessarily mean because you have problems, you run away from them. Running away from your problems doesn't make that any better. It just means you have those same problems in your next relationship because you didn't learn how to fix them in your first one.
Would that then mean you would, or an individual would have at a point a right to then cause a distracting disturbance because they are not at a point that they can actually part from that? Like, would you feel an individual that would instead, because I'll even say it from my perspective, to where if it's something on me, to where I feel, well, I am giving conscious effort here and I've done this, but I'm feeling within its interruption and trying to clarify to where even respecting some views are being at its steadfast of it's just that. It's not just what it is, but hearing it, though it can be the truth, though it can be as forward and as non-misleading, it still is in some applicable point an excuse. To where it would lead to the next question of would you then feel because of a certain time lapse interval that may have seemed that the shoe was on one foot to where it would have seemed that it was against you in odds, to where then another time lapse from that, it seems is going for you to where you're not against the odds. So does that mean you do not, it's okay to not take in that consideration as if you were there from the person opposite from you that is having a conversation, or in awareness?
I have a question from the audience.
Yes.
Y'all brought up a good point. I want to know how important, because of this one thing that I hear from a lot of married couples like yourselves. And I love your show.
Thank
I
you.
watched your show last night. It is off the chain. Everybody, I think this is a great show. It's going to be a packed studio audience out here one day. But I want to know, how much does it irk you when you do something for your partner and you don't feel like they appreciate what you did?
A lot.
I'd say from a personal point of view, you can only try so much.
And it's not always intentional if they forget to appreciate you. I know I'm married myself, and I do things for my wife sometimes, and because she's so busy, she forgets to say thank you, or she forgets to take the time and give me a kiss on the cheek and say, I love you, I appreciate what you do for me. Sometimes in the hustle and bustle of life, and you guys are such a beautiful couple, you know, it does not. Elaborate, I want to know.
I think
Come out and take it, and I was trying to tell you about it.
Like I got 100% on this exam on the first shot, which is something that doesn't happen very often. Oh wow! And I told everybody, and everybody I knew had something positive to say. Good job, congratulations, proud of you. And I didn't get anything in response from my husband.
Oh wow!
So. That's kind of the appreciation because I went out to get it just for me, not for us.
Say at this point, I do appreciate it, but within the not again trying to use its impulse response of I didn't get such an appreciation where it mattered, but if the detail, I had a chance to, but because of your input getting this job and stuff, it caused me to then put in this priority first of this appreciation to where I was not able to obtain it. There were like an example of exams to where not even exams, but I'll go about the day. At the end of that day, I brought in enough money. I truly think that we would want to save this amount of money brought in because it's not entitled to us. Because then we have been also given food. So then also on giving food, I happen to know where we can cut a budget into have our normal cigarettes. To where then you would response, I'm eating the food to save money and buy more food from because I'm tired of it. I don't want to eat bologna sandwiches every night. Again, McDonald's. I'm sorry, I don't as they do have, you know, in this example. And then you have, you know, the pack of cigarettes. So I need my cigarettes to say, well, you know, instead of $4 to $5, I know we're $2. That intermer that when we can't make dollars for cigarettes was just fine. So how come we can't spend that $2 on getting you that 4-pack of cigarettes? So it's great that there isn't one couple in America right now that doesn't have the same discussion every single night. That's my wife had to subscribe. That's great. That's great. And then you need to see. Break down, this goes first to this other thing up because at one point, this is where I say you turn the shoe. One that was great, like for mine, so big was say, you know, cut here, and I'm not just for that. But we're trying and it's under 2 these days out here. Complainers, have a great day.